Hello, my name is Eunice Heredia. I am the Assistant Director of Financial Aid at Wilburite College. I will be going over the 2021 to 2022 FAFSA application, and we will go over what is needed, how to fill out the FAFSA application, and a line by line of the FAFSA application for this current academic year. And yeah, we'll go from there. So thank you for joining us. Items that are needed, you will need 2019 taxes, parent and student. If you have a parent and are under the age of 24, we will need that information. Students who have completed 2019 taxes, we will also need that information to complete the 21 to 22 FAFSA application. FSA ID, I know it has been a year already since we have completed the last FAFSA application. You may have to retrieve your username and password in order to sign it, as well as logging into link with the IRS data retrieval tool. So you want to make sure to have that username and password ready. Students who have an alien registration number, we will need this 9-digit number in order to complete the FAFSA as well. An alien registration number is on your alien registration card, also known as the green card. You will want to make sure to have that in front of you while completing the FAFSA application. Record of untaxed income. Untaxed income can be child support received, child support given, interest income, veteran benefits. So you want to make sure to have that information of how much you have received or given for the whole year. Information of cash, savings, and checkings account. We will also need that information. That will be towards the end of the financial section, whether it's the student or parent section. So we will need that information. So the first step is going to FAFSA.gov, right? There are two ways on logging in. If you are new to the FAFSA, you're going to start here to start filling out that application. If you're a returning student, you will click on returning user because guess what? You already have an FSA ID and password, so you can easily go into that FAFSA application. Logging in, there are two different ways of logging in. As a student, you want to make sure to say I am a student or I am a parent, preparer, or student from a freely associated state. So there's two ways to log in. The first one is using that username and password. If you do not remember your username, you could always click on forgot username or forgot password. If you do not remember your username, but you do remember the email you used to create the FSA ID username, you can put that email there. For the password, there are two different ways on retrieving it. One is, well, there's three different ways. One is answering the challenge questions. The second one is retrieving it via email. They will send you 6-digit code to input and retrieve and create a new one. And the third one is inputting your telephone number that you have also included in the FSA ID. If you use the challenge questions, you will have to wait 30 minutes in order to use that password or username. Keep that in mind. If you are a parent, preparer, or student from a freely associated state, you will want to include your first name, last name, your social security number, and your date of birth as well. Make sure that everything is the same as it is on your social security card, because if you are off by a number or if your last name is not correct, the Social Security Administration will not let us upload your FAFSA onto our system. So keep that in mind. The following page that you will be sent is a disclaimer page. So keep that in mind. Please make sure to read everything. If you decline at this point, you will not be able to proceed to the FAFSA application. You will have to hit accept in order to go to the FAFSA application. Once you have successfully logged in, it will take you to this page directly. The following page is finally we're here. For which school year are you applying for financial aid? This can be a little bit tricky because there's going to be 2 applications already available for our students. If you are renewing your FAFSA application, you want to make sure to click on 2021 to 2022 FAFSA. That is if you're renewing it. If you're trying to attain financial aid for this current school year, which is 2020 to 2021, you want to go ahead and start that 2020-2021 FAFSA application. They will ask you for 2018 information, so you want to make sure to have that. Because we are renewing our FAFSA, we are going to click on 2021 to 2022 FAFSA. So we're going to start that. As our example, our first page is create a save key. So this is a second password that students will have to create in order to access that application. Make sure to jot down this save key. It could be a 4-digit number, it could be an 8-digit password, 8-digit number, or it could be a total different password that you want to create. You want to make sure to have this in a safe place along with your FSA ID and your password, because just in case you want to make corrections onto your FAFSA, if something's not right, you want to go in and make those necessary corrections. We're going to hit next. The following is the introduction. These are main questions that are asked by parents, students who are completing the FAFSA. You want to make sure to go ahead and read it when you have a chance. But if you're ready and you're like, I already want to get this application started, you can go right ahead and hit next. So when you hit next, our student will be shown their information. So basically their general information, which is their social security number, their first name, their last name, and their date of birth. So this is the first section is the student demographics. And this goes on for the first 3 to 4 pages on the FAFSA. So you want to make sure to double check everything, double check that social security number, double check that first name, last name, and middle initial and date of birth. We've had students in the past who put 1 digit wrong on their social security number and had to restart a whole brand new FAFSA application. We don't want that to happen to you. So you want to make sure to double check everything, triple check everything just in case. After you're done checking, you want to hit next. And the following is your student email. You want to make sure it's a personal email that you check daily, just in case something is not correct on your FAFSA. They have that email to email you and tell you what's going on with your FAFSA application, along with a telephone number. The following will be your permanent mailing address. You want to make sure that this is up to date as well. If there's something wrong with your FAFSA application, they will generally send a student aid report, which is a physical FAFSA, to the student at this mailing address. So you want to make sure that everything's up to date so you could get that information. Want to hit next. The following information is the student's information. So you want to make sure to answer correctly if you are the student. This question for the student who is living in Illinois will be, have you lived in Illinois for at least 5 years? If the student has lived in Illinois for at least 5 years, they want to make sure to say yes. If they haven't, you want to make sure to say no and put the date that they moved to Illinois. The following question is, are you a U.S. citizen? There are 3 different answers to this question. The first one is yes, I am a U.S. citizen. The second one is no, but I am an eligible non-citizen, meaning that you have a green card, also known as the alien registration card. And then the third answer is no, I am not a U.S. citizen or an non-eligible citizen. So you want to make sure to read carefully the questions that are being asked through the FAFSA application. So for our example, our student said, yes, I am a U.S. citizen or U.S. national. So you want to make sure to answer correctly. and make sure to enter, if necessary, your alien registration number. It is under US CIS. So you want to make sure to double check that number when you input it. Hit next. The following questions are regarding your high school and college starting and completion. So you want to make sure to answer the first question, which is, what will your high school completion status be when you begin college in 2021 to 2022 school year? If you are a CPS student who is going to graduate in May or June, you want to make sure to put high school diploma. If you um, completed your high school completion at a different country, you want to make sure to identify high school diploma as well. For those who have completed a GED or were homeschooled, there are those options as well in this section. In our example, the student has completed a high school diploma, so keep that in mind. If you select none of the above for this question, you will not be eligible for financial aid, so keep that in mind. You want to make sure to either select high school diploma, GED, or homeschooled for this question. What college degree or certificate will you be working on when you begin the 2021 to 2022 school year? If you are seeking a bachelor's degree and it's your first bachelor's degree, you want to make sure to input first bachelor's degree. There are different types of degrees listed on here. You want to make sure to either put first bachelor's degree if that applies to you, or select associate's degree. You are going for an occupational or vocational or trading. So you want to select which one. And then there's that second one that says associate's degree for transfer. So you want to make sure to select the one that applies to you. If you select anything else that says graduate degree, and you are straight out of high school, guess what? You're telling us that you are going for a master's degree. So you want to make sure to answer this question correctly as well as the first one. Will you have your first bachelor's degree before you begin the 2021 to 2022 school year? If you have a bachelor's degree already, you want to make sure to answer yes. If you do not have a bachelor's degree, you could go right ahead and answer no. What will your college grade level be when you begin the 2020 to 2021 school year? If you are fresh out of high school, you want to make sure to state never attended. It is your first year. If you are a returning student and you're a freshman, sophomore, this is going to be your second or third year, please make sure to select which one is applicable to you, because we want to know what grade level you are. If you say you are a graduate professional, you will be considered that you are going for a master's, meaning you are not eligible for financial aid. So keep that in mind. Please read the questions carefully, because I know sometimes we read really fast and we get confused. Please double check your answers at the end as well. That is a tip that I'm giving you guys. I know I've done the FAFSA and I have to double check everything. So please keep that in mind. Double check, triple check everything that you input on this application. The final question on this page is, are you interested in being considered for work study? Work study is a part-time job on campus, which students may be eligible depending on their financial needs. So if you are interested in a part-time position on campus, go ahead and say yes onto that question. If you say no, it's okay. You're not interested. We know not to ask you if you're interested in work study on campus. And the final one is, you're like, I'm not sure. I think I might later on. You could also put don't know. Our following is for males. So if you are a male from the ages of 18 to 26, you are responsible to register for the Selective Service. If you do not register for Selective Service, you will not be eligible for financial aid. This is for males only. Excuse me. So you want to make sure if you're not registered, you can register through the FAFSA application. If you want to make sure to answer correctly, are you registered with the Selective Service system? If you answer no, a second question will be generated. Do you want us to register you with the Selective Service system? You want to make sure to say yes, and it'll automatically send your information to Selective Service. As a reminder, if you say no to both of these questions, you are not registered for the Selective Service, you will not be eligible for financial aid. So this is one of the requirements for males, to keep that in mind. Females do not have to do this part. The questions will not be generated for you. So you could go straight ahead to next. And if you have a driver's license, you can provide it and also enter the state that your driver's license is from. The following question that students will have are you a foster youth, or were you at any time in the foster care system? If you were and this applies to you, you want to make sure to say yes. If this does not apply to you, you want to make sure to say no. The following is highest school completed by parent 1 and highest school completed by parent 2. So you want to make sure to put what grade level your parents successfully completed. If they completed high school, college, or beyond, elementary school, you need to put that information in here. If you do not know their highest school completion, you could put unknown or other and hit next. The following is the school selection. So this is where you put your high school information. Make sure to put your high school because they do want to know that you did successfully complete your high school diploma and what school you attained it from. For those who come from a different country, you could also put your high school information. So say I completed my high school in Mexico. I would put my high school's name, the city, which would be a city in Mexico, and then in what state. They have that option of selecting foreign country. So you want to make sure to input the foreign country if you attained your high school diploma in a different country. If you attained your high school diploma here in the States, you want to make sure to input the name, the city, and the state where you received your high school diploma, or where you will complete your high school diploma from. If you don't remember the full name, but you remember, oh, it started with West, you could hit search and it'll generate a list of high schools, and you can select which one is yours, and it will select it and you'll hit next. After next, you will add the schools that you want to get your FAFSA application. You have up to 10 colleges that you could put on the FAFSA application, so keep that in mind. If you're like, well, I'm barely starting to apply to colleges or looking into colleges, make sure to put the colleges that you're applying to onto the FAFSA application. If you're like, I want to go to UIC, I want to go to I'm going to apply to UIC, I'm going to apply to Northern Illinois, I'm going to apply to Western Illinois, I'm going to apply to a couple out of state colleges, you want to make sure to include that here as well. You could put up to 10, but if you are applying to more than 10 schools, you could always wait 3 business days, log back into your FAFSA, erase a couple of the schools that are on your FAFSA application, and put the schools that you did not originally put in the FAFSA application. If you're like, I already know what colleges I'm applying to, go ahead and include the state and the city, or the state and the school name, because they will ask for that federal school code. If you're like, I'm going to apply to Wright, I'm a returning student, I that's the only school that I'm going to, but I'm thinking about transferring at the end of the school year, you want to make sure to include those transfer schools as well on your FAFSA application. If you know the school codes, great. Wright school code is 001655. So if you know the school code, the federal school code, you want to make sure to press yes, and it's going to give you a box to input that school code. So Wright College's school code number is 001655, if you did not hear that the first time. So our example is thinking about staying in Iowa, and specifically in Iowa City. So there is one university in Iowa City, and to add the schools, you will want to make sure to check on the box on the left-hand side corners to add. If you are thinking about adding more schools, you want to click on Add More Schools. The following section is University of Iowa, and then it'll give you the school code. Their school code is 001892. It's the housing plan. So you want to make sure to select the options for you. So there's 3 options. The first one is on campus. The second one is with parent, and then the third one is off campus. To differentiate from the 3 is off campus, you're paying for your own apartment, you're paying for your own bills. The second one is you're living at home with your parents, you're going to be commuting from home to school. And then the third one is on campus, meaning that you're going to be living on campus, and you in the dorm rooms. Wright College does not have dorm rooms, so you have either the option of selecting with a parent or off campus. So keep that in mind. And you will have to make a selection for housing for each of the schools that you include on your FAFSA. What is your marital status as of today? As a reminder, this is the student's information, and it's asking whether the student is married, single, divorced, or separated, and you want to make sure to answer this correctly. You're going to hit next. The following 2 questions are, do you now have or will you have children who will receive more than half of their support from you between July 1st, 2021 and June 30th, 2022? If you do not have any children and you're not providing half of the support to them, you are going to answer no. If you have dependents other than your children who live with you and who receive more than half of their support from you now and through June 30th, 2022, you can answer no, meaning that you're not supporting anybody outside of your children or spouse. That is if these questions are to verify your dependency status. So keep that in mind. The following is also questions that will determine your dependency, meaning whether you are dependent or independent. By clicking any of the following, if you do click one of these, it will make you independent, meaning that you will not need to provide your parents' information. But you want to make sure to read these questions carefully, because we have had scenarios in which a student is not independent and is truly dependent and is living with the parent. So you want to make sure to read these questions very carefully. The first one is, are you currently serving on active duty in the U.S. Armed Forces for purposes other than training? If this applies to you, you want to make sure to check the box on the left-hand side corner. Well, left-hand side. Are you a veteran on the U.S. Armed Forces? If this applies to you, you want to check it. At any time since you turned age 13, were both your parents deceased? Were you in foster care, or were you a dependent or ward of the court? So keywords is, were both of your parents deceased? Were you in foster care, or were you a dependent or ward? If one of these applies to you, you want to make sure to check it. If it doesn't, you're going to leave it blank. As determined by a court, your state of legal residency, are you or were you an emancipated minor? Meaning that you went to court, you divorced your parents, you stated, I'm financially responsible and I can maintain my own living expenses, and I do not want to affiliate with my parents. The only person I know who is a movie star is Macaulay Culkin, the kid from Home Alone, emancipated from his parents. So it is a very hard process. So keep that in mind. So if this applies to you, you want to make sure to check the box. Does someone other than your parent or step parent have legal guardianship of you? So keep this in mind. I'm going to read this again. Does someone or other than your parent or step parent have legal guardianship of you, as determined by a court in your state of legal residency? So keep that in mind. If your parents stated, we're going to court, I'm going to give somebody else legal guardianship, legal custody over you, I'm going to sign a paper explaining I'm giving so and so legal guardianship of so and so. So keep that in mind. This is a court process. If that applies to you, you want to make sure to check that box. If none of these apply to you, if you're like, no, you answered no to all of these, you're going to state none of the above, like our example. On or after July 1st, 2020, were you homeless or were you self-supporting and at risk of being homeless? So keep this in mind. If you are at risk on or after July 1st, you want to make sure to say yes. If you were not at risk of being homeless, you're going to say no. If you say yes, it will generate two other questions. So keep that in mind. Make sure to read everything carefully. Okay, our final thing on our dependency status is based on your answers to the dependency status questions, you were considered a dependent student, meaning that you have to provide parent information. So you will want to stick to, I will provide information about my parents. If you have a special circumstances, which there are three, they're very limited. The first one being you do not have any contact whatsoever with your parents, meaning you don't know their number, you don't know where they live, you don't have their email address, you don't know anything about them. That is considered a special circumstance. If your parents or parent is incarcerated, that is also considered a special circumstance. And the third and final one is if the student is in an abusive relationship and has documented everything, and is not living with that parent, that is also considered a special circumstances. So it's very limited on what is a special circumstances. So keep that in mind. If you do fall within those special circumstances, you can click on I am unable to provide information about my parents, and you could go on to the next page. Students who provide information about their parents, you will go onto the section where it states parent demographics, which will be on our next